Good morning, Dan Delmar in for David and Elias. Today, in transit, and those EV charging stations are really popular in Quebec. We need more of them, and more are coming. A groundbreaking move in the electric vehicle industry as Quebec-based FLO has secured a record round of funding, $136 million from public and private partnerships. I like the private especially. That's encouraging. Travis Allan is FLO's Chief Legal and Public Affairs Officer. Mr. Allan, hello.
Hi, good morning.
Congratulations on the funding. Good to see. Tell us about some of your private partners, by the way, because it's great that the private sector is now seeing the potential here in Quebec charging stations.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. It was a range of pretty sophisticated institutional investors, including, as you mentioned, EDC, which was the lead, and then a number of private equity investment funds from both Canada and the US. And they're really, I think, excited about FLO's track record. We've been around for 15 years and are kind of known as the reliable charging company, and they really want to help us take that model and continue to expand in North America.
You're not the only charging station out there. What is different about FLO?
Yeah, so I think it really comes down to looking at what drivers care about. And you mentioned one thing they really want is more charging stations. And then the other thing is they are really looking for reliable charging stations. They want to know that when they get to a charging station, it's going to work and give them the charge that they need. And FLO has really distinguished itself with, Quebec designed and made technology that is really focused on being very reliable. And now we're launching our new FLO Ultra and Home products, and those are both reliable, but they're also, beautifully designed. So that's where we're really going next.
Excellent. And what kind of, charging options do you offer? Is it compatible with all electric vehicles?
That's a great question because of the recent announcement of a lot of automakers moving over to the NACS standard that was built by Tesla. So FLO makes everything from our new home charging line that's being launched this summer, which is designed really for sort of the new makes and models of EVs that have bigger batteries, very robust, all the way up to ultra fast charging, which can charge new EVs to 80%, which is the recommended sort of range in 15 minutes or less. So we do kind of the whole range of charging. And because we are sort of a vertically integrated company, which means we can swap out parts and make changes at our design team, which is based here in Montreal, and our engineering team based up in Quebec City, we don't really mind switching over. So we're going to offer our new stations with both the sort of legacy connectors, or you can make a choice to have the new NACS connector. So we'll be able to basically charge everybody.
How many FLO stations are there currently in Quebec, and how many will this new funding allow you to build?
Yeah, so we already have many, many thousands of charging stations here in Quebec and across North America, both public stations, but also home charging stations. So we've built many, many. And this new funding is really sort of a companion piece to another set of funding that we did with the Canada Infrastructure Bank that's going to allow us to deploy up to 2,000 fast charging ports across Canada. We will be deploying, many thousands in the years to come, and doing that at a range of both public locations, but also continuing to sell, for home charging as well.
I'm wondering if there's a danger that the growth of the charging stations might outpace the sales of electric cars. The subsidies are coming to an end, and sales have been dipping a little bit in some cases. Earlier on this morning, a panelist was saying, well, no one he knows can afford an electric car right now, and certainly there's a bit of a ceiling there in terms of affordability. Are you worried about what some people are calling a potential dip in sales?
We watch sales pretty closely because what you tend to find is that when you have people buying new EVs, they tend to also want to buy charging stations if they can charge at home. So there's definitely a correlation between new vehicle sales and residential charging stations, which we sell. But what we find is that for public charging, it's actually a bit of a different relationship because as more and more EVs get on the road, we're also seeing a really robust used EV market develop. There's a lot of people that want to have the lower operational costs of EVs, but they tend to buy used, perhaps like the person you're mentioning who's looking for a lower entry price. And now that we've seen vehicles on the market for a couple of years, we're starting to see a more robust used market develop. At the same time, we're seeing more and more sort of what I'd call mid-range or entry price EVs that are hitting the market. So Kia actually just announced today a $30,000 new EV. So we're really starting to see a more robust market develop, and I think FLO is quite confident that there's a big gap in charging already. So we have a lot of work to do just to sort of meet the market that's already there, and B, that there's a lot more consumers that are choosing EVs, either new or used.
Travis Allan joins us from FLO, the charging stations. What about Quebec's electrical power grid? Is that something on your radar? Because, of course, brownouts are becoming more common in Quebec. It's expected, and there have been a lot of reports about the integrity of our grid and how we'll have certainly some issues over the years, shortages here and there. Is that something you're following, and can you prevent that somehow?
Yeah, so EVs are actually an amazing technology that can help to use power when there's surpluses. So one of the things that you learn if you look at many, many thousands of EVs charging overnight and at home is that there's typically a lot of time when a normal EV driver who charges at home is plugged in, but they're not actually charging their vehicle, because it usually only takes a couple hours to recharge a vehicle that's in daily use. So one thing that's pretty cool about EVs is you can actually encourage drivers to shift their charging behavior to times when it's most supportive for the grid. And that's what most jurisdictions are now doing through either time of use rate structures or other types of EV charging incentives. So there's a lot that we can do without even making big investments to help support the grid. And so that's a really big opportunity. And then there's even innovative technologies that groups are looking at called vehicle to home or vehicle to grid that could eventually allow EVs to put some electricity back on the grid. That's probably at a more advanced state, but certainly something that FLO and other companies are looking at as well.
The big point of anxiety, the term is often called range anxiety, which holds people back, I think, from making the change. In some cases, anyway, there's the financial anxiety, and then there's the range anxiety for making the flip to an electric car. What's your best argument against range anxiety, especially with this new funding?
Well, I mean, the best thing that we can do is really provide people with visible charging where they're going, where they want to charge. So we just announced, for example, a new partnership with Metro, where we'll be deploying up to 500 ports at over 130 grocery stores around Quebec and Ontario. We think that is giving an amazing signal to drivers because they want to be at those grocery stores anyway. And so this is a chance for them to basically charge while doing something that they need to do. So really providing ubiquitous, reliable charging is the number one thing that we can do. In addition, if you look at the data, most people charge at home most of the time if they can because it's very convenient. So they're not using public charging necessarily as much as a typical gas driver would because you're getting your charge every night at very low cost at home.
Travis Allan, the Chief Legal and Public Affairs Officer at FLO, the charging stations. Thanks very much and congrats on the big fund.
Thank you. We're really excited to deliver those charging stations.